Service Charges Charter.
So it's still a leasehold. That's all I'm trying to get to. You don't want to say that you will suspend those leasehold developments.
But the government has given this 40-year period to do so. That's why we've got to make sure we've got investment.
You could do it now. You could do a share of freehold on all those developments. You could convert them to share of freehold, giving those residents control over their destiny, but you are still backing leasehold with mayoral money.
Well, it's not mayoral money, it's government money. That comes with conditions attached from the government.
Really?
What we're doing is abiding by the conditions from the government, working with councils, housing associations and developers to get the housing built in London that Londoners desperately need.
So, under your mayoralty, we will continue with leasehold. That's basically what you've just said. Do you think it is fair for Londoners to expect your stewardship of a regeneration scheme, an MDC or a new town, to be transparent?
Well, the development corporations that I inherited, the Olympic Park one and the one in Old Oak Common, I think we've shown the importance of transparency, just like we're going to do so with the Oxford Street Development Corporation as well.
Well, that's interesting to know. Your deputy mayor told us that he believes Barking Riverside is a good model of that stewardship. Barking Riverside Limited does not publish its minutes or its decisions, and he has point-blank refused to send me any of the minutes on decisions on Barking Riverside. The community interest company set up to run community services, meets in secret and does not publish its minutes. At its very first meeting in January, the Oxford Street Development Corporation redacted its entire budget and discussed it in private session. Its second meeting was in February, was only held in public for a matter of minutes before going into private session again. And you need reminding, Mr. Mayor, that this MDC is in charge of £144 million of public money. And it's all in secret.
Well, Chair, that was a minute and a half. I hope I'll have equal time to respond, at least, to the various points raised by the member. So the three development corporations that we're responsible for, LLDC, OPDC and Oxford Street Development Corporation, all operate under the same principles of transparency. All of them, by the way, the first two set up under the previous mayor, sometimes have sections in private because of issues of commercial sensitivity. And by the way, so does the TfL board.
They have the option to publish redacted minutes, which they haven't taken up.
As, by the way, does the TfL board and the committees of the TfL board and the committees of OPDC, LLDC and Oxford Street Development Corporation. Now, if the member's raising issues in relation to the time it's taken for those committees to publish minutes, redacted or not, that's an issue we can take up with the relevant development corporations. But to give an impression of conspiracy...
I have done, and I've been refused minutes. What we know, I mean, I'll come to an end, Mr. Mayor, but what we do know is the future under Sadiq Khan is opaque.
Well, let's deal with the past and present before we can predict the future. So the Localism Act 2011 gave mayors the power to set up development corporations. When both LLDC was set up by Boris Johnson, no criticism from the member. Wouldn't say boo to a goose in relation to that.
I think you should go back on the minutes because there was.
Well, he can send me the minutes because he's so transparent. The second development corporation, also set up by Boris Johnson, OPDC. The member again didn't criticise those development corporations. He never complained about housing being taken away from residents.
Yes, he did. Do your research. I've criticised every single.
I mean,
Mr. Chair, I was mentioned. They're on a point of information.
No, there is no such thing. There is no. I mean,
there actually is.
The way it works is.
You need to do more reading, Mr. Mayor.
He was a pain in the backside to Boris, and you know it. So he did.
The way it works, Chair, is look. A question is asked. I answer it. If the member disagrees, he can come back and challenge me. I can then respond. That's called debate, and it's called good manners. Not to interrupt when I'm speaking mid-breath. So let me respond. So there are. I can hear heckling from the future leader of the Tory group. Can you just keep quiet, please? Now, let me deal with this issue. So two development corporations set up by the previous mayor, no issue around transparency. We've set up one development corporation, Oxford Street Development Corporation, which I think will regenerate Oxford Street. Now, I appreciate the Conservatives that want to regenerate Oxford Street. We do. We're making good progress, and I'm confident that the new development corporation will be as transparent, if not more, than the previous two.
Thank you, Chair, and Eid Mubarak, belated celebration to you. One of the things that I have to listen to almost daily is receiving phone calls and emails from families, from mums, from dads who are suffering because of the Conservative-caused housing crisis, which is the biggest challenge facing Londoners today. Families want ambitious local authorities to work with you to deliver the affordable homes that we need across London. But what we've seen since you got elected was in Ealing, in my borough, which is a Labour council, 5,111 homes up until 2024. Neighbouring Brent, not far behind. Southwark, again, not far behind. Neighbouring Hillingdon, a mere 1,600. Bromley, 744. And Richmond, for whom we have the leader of the council sitting in this chamber, bottom of the league table, 32 out of 32, with less than 300 homes delivered over that period up until 2024. Londoners simply cannot afford for their councils to be unambitious about delivering the affordable homes that they desperately need. How are you going to make sure that every single borough across this city steps up to deliver on this challenge?
Well, he raises an issue that I think is the most serious issue facing our city in the long term, medium term and short term, which is housing. And the lack of affordable housing in our great city. And it's been decades in the making in terms of the lack of supply meeting the demand. The young people in the gallery haven't got a cat and hell's chance of getting an affordable home in London, the way things are carrying on, which is why I've been working with the government to address this issue. The good news is we've shown over the last 10 years we can build record numbers of council homes, more than any time since the 1970s. Prior to the pandemic, more completions than any time since the 1930s, around 10,000 more than the previous mayor, who some members idolise and cherish. But there's a problem, and the problem is caused by some councils not carrying their fair share of the burden, responsibility and joy in building homes for their local residents. It can't be right that some councils are doing more and other councils are doing less. And the government's been quite clear. If councils don't discharge their responsibilities seriously in relation to building the homes that are needed, the government and or I will take over those responsibilities, because some great councils, he's mentioned a few, Ealing, Brent and Southwark, Haringey is another one, there are others as well. I've done a great job in terms of making sure they're meeting the needs of residents. Others haven't. Waiting lists continue to rise. Those children in temporary accommodation continues to rise. And that's why it's important to address this housing crisis. And I think working with the government and working with good councils, I'm hoping we can do that.
I'm sure that Londoners out there will be really pleased to hear you say that, because when I've spoken to, and I won't name which council leader it was, but when I asked them about what they were going to do about stepping up to dealing with the housing crisis, they said to me, what housing crisis? And so some are too polite to say, but for me, I'd say to him, you're divisive, you're deluded. What would you say to council leaders who are not prepared to do what they need to do?
I think it's really important to understand the consequences of not addressing the housing crisis. Young people being priced out of our city, families who want to start a family being priced out of our city, but also if we're not careful, rather than having the diversity of socioeconomic mix, the joy of London is you can be, a millionaire living, near somebody who's, a bus driver, a porter, a nurse, a teacher assistant. That's the joy of London, right? And so the concern is, if you don't address housing crisis, our city could be hollowed out. People travelling an hour and a half, 2 hours to do essential work. That can't be right. And so this is an issue that should affect all of us. If you're lucky enough to be an owner-occupier, that's great. But actually it affects you if the person who you need to help this city run effectively, your teacher, your police officer, your firefighter, is having to live outside the city. That's a problem for all of us.
And I know that you're looking to develop housing specifically for key workers as well, to make sure that we can retain them in our great city.
One of the things that we are doing is just building record numbers of council homes, but there are some key workers ineligible for those council homes. So we've devised a new form of housing, key worker housing, intermediate housing, and we hope to get going on 6,000 over the next period.
Incredibly welcome. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
A member has been named, so I'm going to call on Assembly Member Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was delighted to be named by Assembly Member Mahfouz. If he was, you referred to the leader of Richmond Council, who's in this room, and there's only one of us here, chummy. Mr. Mayor, we had a large-scale development which was brought on site in Richmond-upon-Thames, the Stag Brewery site, which was blocked by the Mayor. As a result of the Mayor's interference, we also lost a secondary school which was going to provide much-needed places in the east of the borough. If the Mayor had not intervened, then that site would be being built, houses would be being provided, and frankly, there would be development going on. So if Assembly Member Mahfouz wishes to raise issues, he should do his homework first, rather than just practising his greasy lines and odious questioning to the Mayor. Thank you. And that was not something for the Mayor to respond on. It was a piece of personal explanation.
I'm sure that entirely explains the gap between 5,000 homes in Ealing and the mere 279 properties that he has delivered during his tenure, of which he's been leader of the council since 2018.
There was going to be 1,100 homes built on that.